through inmate-run programs. And those inmate-run programs is what was part of a movement that initiated Holla. And there's an intergenerational healing movement going on now. And Holla's getting ready to do some real big things because of that intergenerational movement. When you get to your roots and your tree is solid, there's no healing is where we have to go if we want to abolish the prison system, if we really want to bring back social programs to our communities. That's community Pacific. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Shawana.
I see you, Richard.
Thank
I just wanted to say thank you, Dr. V, and thank you, Dr. Greene.
you.
It's an honor and it's a pleasure, even to be thought about, to be on this panel. So my name is Shawana Vaughn, and I'm the director of Silent Cry. And Silent Cry is out of my own silent tears. And Richard, I can't say like you, I did 17, but I can tell you that I did 5. And if you snatch a human from a day, from an environment that they are used to, it is too much.
All right, listen.
And my journey began April 15th, 1978 in Corona State Prison for Women. I was born to a mother that was incarcerated. And I tell people, you know, we look at slavery and we talk about Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman. I am the dream and the hope of a slave because I was born to a mother shackled and chained. Not in 1619, in 1978, in Corona State Prison for Women. We have not abolished slavery because I was born on a plantation. So Silent Cry is my own silent tears. I understand the foster care system. I understand recidivism. When they say you revisit the place of your birth, I might not have went to CIW. I went to Valley State Prison for Women. So I know the children of incarcerated parents become incarcerated. And I know that we have trauma 7 and 9 times before we ever get to prison. That's how we get there. And Richard said something that was vital. We punitively treat the action, but nobody ever treats the symptom of the problem. The symptoms of the problems for my community are strategic disparity, oppression, and poverty. And they all lead us down roads that we've now called the prison to pipeline. I call it birth to prison because that is what they are unequivocally trying to leverage against us. But I hear the silent cries and we're not going. Holla said we came to heal. We're not. We are taking back generations. We will not. So I have legislation called Post-Traumatic Prison Disorder, Shawana W 76337. It's a mass incarceration mental health bill. Because I understand that nobody comes out of prison the way they went in. We might have been in trauma, but we come out with remnants of things that are, for the average human, unimaginable. And so some people identify with post-traumatic stress disorder, but we don't get the honor of going to the military, so we don't get the same benefits. Yet the states say we're property of New York, property of California, property of Delaware, property of wherever. And the sign says rehabilitate. No such thing. It's catalyst slavery. And there's no healing. So I'm challenging every state that says we belong to you to bring me back home healed in totality. So I'm calling for vendor therapy from trauma-informed therapists that look like me. We don't need textbook therapists because we're not textbook people. We're complex and intricate, and nothing is textbook about waking up being Black in America. And so I stand with Holla because I firmly believe and affirm that we come to heal. And collectively, we are all better in moving mountains and reducing recidivism. So I'm here to affirm that I stand with Holla because collectively we come to heal. And I pass it to where's my friend? My new friend. My
Mash, yeah, Mash.
Mash. Yes, ma'am.
um, yeah. So what called me.
Mash, you mute. Okay, there you go.
My fault. Yeah. I was just telling my sister, household stuff. But yeah, what really called me to this work was self-transformation and like self-discovery. I feel like everybody has, someone who they pretend to be. And for me, it was, pretending to like kind of like fit that image my family wanted me to fit into. Was like that straight church girl who was only able to go to school, then to church, and then back home. But there was like nothing ever really outside of that. And at some point, it was just draining, like draining to me, my spirit, my mental capacity. Um, and I feel like the universe, heard my cry. Like Sharana was saying, like the silent tears. Definitely, the universe heard my cry, and like spirit brought me to Holla. So like at first I didn't know what it would entail. Hell, I didn't even know what healing was, let alone healing justice. Um, but like as we started to build with each other and feel with each other, I was able to get like some of that power back that was taken away from me because of like this Haitian community. Like there's like a set culture, and like if you move away from that culture, it's like you become a outcast. But like in Hala, that was a completely different culture for me, because it not only like introduced me to something called healing, but it introduced all of the outcasts. Like it welcomed all of the outcasts in with open arms. And I never really known or felt with that. I never like known or felt with like what that would be like until then. And like when you coming from communities, like I'm from Brownsville, and like when you come from communities, that exclude people who's like me, who's queer and Black and proud, and it's like when you step into a space like Hala and you're surrounded by healing, it allows you to take a breath of fresh air, you know, um, and like I felt like I could breathe again, which then like kind of led me into like coming out to the world. And that's something that I never really thought that like I would be able to do because of who I am, and what I was surrounded by. But through Hala, like definitely Hala was able to put me in front of a mirror and show me who I really was, not who I was pretending to be. And that drove me to like, if Hala could do this for me, I could definitely do this for somebody else. And I know for a fact somebody else is probably going through something as similar as me, or probably even worse than me. So definitely that's something that drove me and started my journey with healing. And with that being said, I pass to Cory.
Fire, that was fire. Was good. Thank you, Dr. V and Harvard. and everybody tuning in. Richard, Shawana, Mashley, thanks for dropping that. Just watching the documentary again, man, just feel honored to know Mashley, know Alex, know Kieran, know Lauren, know Victor, know Rechna, know Kieran, A-Rox, Butterlab, Chino, KJ, so many people that helped create that moment and all you've seen. I think part of me coming to this, man, is like, I think all of the stuff that Richard and Shawana and Mashley was saying, I feel like I got a story that's similar to that in my own way. And I just want to affirm that because I think that's real for all of us. Those watching, um, those here today with us, and some of us know it and some of us got to search a little bit more to figure some of that, how that story that we just heard relates to all of that. So I'm gonna go a little bit to like the legacy. I think like that is like in a lot of ways how I come to this. And it starts off with like really thinking about like, like African people and African sacred science and really thinking about like um, our ancestors and their wisdom around cosmology and rituals for self, community, and society development, and how our teachings and learnings at the root of all of our healing and our development is our knowledge from the elements, from the water, from the stars, from the universe, and how that's have guided us through our life. And then after we've been impacted by, Arab colonization, European colonization, and been scattered across North America and the Caribbean and throughout the world. Our families have landed in Honduras. Our families have landed in Belize, as Black Guard said, in Marcy, in Brownsville, in Queens, in the Delta, Mississippi, in Puerto Rico, in Trinidad, and our grandmothers and our mothers and our grandfathers, they have resist and survived enslavement and colonization, and we stand on that legacy. And that's some of the stuff that bring me here too. And thinking about just grassroots movements and thinking about the Black Seminoles, the Gullah Geechee people, DeMarcus Vesey, Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman, Ida B.D. Wells, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker, Storky Carmichael, Fred Hampton, the Black Panthers, all the way up to like, Holla, Hill and Justice, Black Lives Matter. These lessons, these approaches, these community praxis is how I got here. These people struggling in that way is how I got here. And particularly when people got pushed into the prison system because they were struggling that way in the 70s, and all of the prison organizing that happened in the 60s and 70s, and particularly in New York with the Greenhaven think tank in Attica, that led to the non-traditional approach to social and criminal justice, and that really opened up the landscape that we stand on today when we think about abolition, when we think about criminal justice reform, but particularly when we think about a non-traditional approach to youth development, and how out of that analysis, the Resurrection Study Group was built, and Holla later came on in prison and built off of that legacy and built our own kind of process of human and healing center youth development. And lastly, when we went through our 18-month process that documentary was a part of, there's so many people that wasn't in there, like Gina, who was really important for developing the 18-month process so that we can go in, Lauren, Victor, Rachna, Myasia, Phil, just so much journeying, like Mashley says, so many arguments, so many fights, so many internal circles, so many rituals, so many camp trips. For us to get to a place to have some kind of clarity to express some of that stuff that we went through and we was able to share in that documentary, it took us to know each other in a lot of different ways, and to grow with each other and to build with each other. And that's kind of like how I come to this conversation.
Can we all out there just take a collective breath? Deep breaths. Because because we are really, truly blessed to have you all on this panel. Thank you for sharing so much of yourselves with us today, but just with the work that you're each doing. I'm going to ask one more round of questions, but I want to invite, because now those of you out there that are tuning in with us, I'm sure you're beginning now to have so many questions, but also feel free to drop reactions, affirmations into the chat. But we have the question and answer function. So we will get to what we can, but we want to be able to take some of your questions as well. So if you want to specify if there's somebody on the panel you would like me to direct a question to, please drop that into the Q&A, or if it's just a general question for the panelists, and we'll see what we can get to. But I just have a few individual questions. For some of you, you know that we had talked about, we want to have a chance to discuss. And so I want us to think about, right? A lot of folks are here today to really think about, well, now we know kind of what brings you to the work. We saw some examples of practice and action. I know, Richard, you're going to talk about this in a little bit, but I want us to really think about and share some examples of how you each really engage in healing practices, in the organizing that you're doing. So I'm gonna start with you, Richard, because I know you have some reflections on the film in relationship to your work that you want the audience thinking about. So if you can kick us off, please.
All right, thank you. I don't mind going first because in the Resurrection Study Group, our motto was, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. So for me to go first is to put me on the spot, and I gotta be ready, or I'm not Resurrection. But that's a story that's gonna tie in this intergenerational movement. I'm 52. I went to prison when I was 17 years old in 1985, right? I'm really gonna say this. I was lucky because at this time, youth couldn't go to adult facilities. You said you like stories, so this is gonna be a little story for you, right? So youth couldn't go to adult facilities. So we was in Coxsackie or Elmira, right? And at this time, the state only had 50 facilities. All right, New York State had 50 correctional facilities.
What year is this?
Excuse me?
What year is this?
This is 1986. All right. And I'm going to bring it around, but I want to give you a framework of the timeline so that we could show this intergenerational movement connection. And we called it the kinetic memory, going back to what Dr. Cory was talking about. This is a kinetic memory. This is how we pass on traditions and spirits. And we didn't have books, we had griots. And griots gave that verbal tradition. And I'm going to give you a verbal tradition of this intergenerational movement. And when I came in, we blew it up in Coxsackie. We took over the jail and everything, the box, all of that. Yes, 16, 17-year-olds in 1987, summer. Check the books. And the governor wrote out in the paper, and at this time, docs had that it was hot and we was frustrated. Back then, they didn't send us to the box. They sent us to adult facilities. That was the punishment. So they sent us to adult facilities so that we could be prey. You got 17, 18-year-olds in adult facilities in 1986, 87, right? In adult facilities with nothing but prey. It's 3 of us in the jail. There's only 3 of us. I got pulled because back then, the old timers actually I couldn't play organized sports until I got a college degree. And this is how Eddie and them was on it. It was only through program that I got in the Black Studies program because I wanted to get on the other side of jail with my man. So I jumped in the Black Studies program so they could transfer me to A Block, right? Okay, now 1989, September 30th, the Resurrection Study Group starts. The head of the Resurrection Study Group is Eddie Ellis. Eddie Ellis returned back from the theological program.
Shout out to Eddie.
1-year program, and it was called the Faith and Life Study Group. And that was September. By December, we gained our own group identity, and we called ourselves the Resurrection Study Group. Our heartbeat was a non-traditional approach to social and criminal justice. Okay, now I'm bringing it together. The pivotal point and the eye-breaker of this analyst was the direct relationship between Black and Latino communities and the criminal justice system, right? But before we could even see that direct relationship, there had to be questions answered and asked. And one of the questions that the guys began to ask themselves in the think tank, in which the think tank is originated from men that was in Attica Uprising. Attica happened in 1971. When Attica Uprising happened, over 500 of those men went to Greenhaven Correctional Facility. And this is how the think tank was initiated, because these socially conscious prisoners got together and started asking themselves questions. They began talking like, we talking to each other, yo, I know him, we figured out we know the same people. So now they asking themselves how we know the same people. Now they begin to talk even more, and they saying, yo, we cousins, we related. Yo, we from the same neighborhoods. So that came to the basic question. And the basic question is, how is it that Blacks and Latinos at the same time represent 25% of New York State, but at the very same time represent over 85% of the prison system, right? So there's a direct relationship. So how did that happen? Because all our lives linked together. Holla. Holla. All our lives linked together. There's no prison problem. Our community problem is a joint problem. Any problem you see in the prison, you're going to see in the community without a sight. And this is one atrocity about the prison system that is never, ever, 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 ever spoke about. After the Attica uprising, prisoners started to get wages. Those wages has been in place since then. So back to Shawana. Slavery all over, man.
You better say something.
From birth to prison, it's all over again. You was paying somebody 14 cents an hour in 1971, and you paying them 14 cents an hour and 20,000. Come on, man. But this is how all our lives link together, that kinetic memory from slavery, those same movements of resistance, those same healing movements we had in our first churches, the African and Methodist churches, them same movements just transcends themselves. And when we got to get radical, we're going to have the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, and all of that. Because we got to understand those are healing. When we help our people, we heal. When we get legislation for really understanding, and then this is what's so phenomenal about Shawana's legislation is that when Columbine jumped off, right? You remember Columbine, when they killed all of them kids? When you come back from war, right? When you're a hostage, right? The first thing, before them kids see their family, before them soldiers go to their family, before that hostage is reunited with their family, they go through some type of counseling. some type of psychological debriefing, something. How you gonna give me, Cory, all of us life sentence, more than 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Come home, nothing. $40 in the bus ticket. So we gotta heal. We gotta heal. And this is how we heal. We helping each other. We help each other. And those movements ain't gonna stop. Watch what Holla be 20 years from now. It might have been Resurrection in 85, Holla 2020. Watch 2030, 2040. See what we be. Because we're going to continue to heal. We found the answer. We got it. How you go to 80 with a youth organizing committee, go hit 80 youth facilities in healing? How you do that? In what, less than a year, 18 months? Come on, man. That's the answer. That's how resurrection started, with purging sessions, sitting down, dealing with our fears as Black men. Like, yo, I ain't get a visit. That shit hurt. Yo, my mom's on crack. That shit hurt. Yo, my daughter don't talk to me, and she won't. That shit hurt. But you in prison. But you gotta talk about it. You gotta talk about the shame. And one of the biggest points of the movie was the vulnerability. Come on, man. Let's be vulnerable a little while. Just for a little while. Let's just be vulnerable. Because when we vulnerable, when we was in them fields, picking that cotton, we was vulnerable. If I fell on my knees, you helped me up. You told me that the slave master was looking. You told me he was getting ready. You helped me. My hands was bleeding, you helped me. But today we don't do that because we don't know how to heal. We don't know how to heal. And I'm going to pass that.
Thank you so much, Richard. Can we just one like he just shared so much with us. So I just want everyone out there to just take a moment to really think about what clicked for you. Where did you hear? He gave us so many tools in terms of a framework for healing around recognizing that you can't approach any amount of any efforts to heal. You can't do that in a vacuum. You have to recognize that it's intergenerational, that it's interconnected, that these systems are interconnected, but so is our healing and so is our liberation. When we say, right, that your liberation is bound with mine, and being really clear of also the role that vulnerability is going to play, and that it played in Richard's journey. So thank you so much for kicking off the second round with so many. I actually want to make sure we come to, because Ashley, we had talked recently about the role that, you talked about letting go, the role that letting go plays in one's healing. And I want folks out there to be thinking about, I want you to guide us in how and what it's played for you and how you practice healing in that way.
Definitely, like, word. Thank you, Black God. That was amazing. They don't really call him Richard, they call him Black God. So I'm gonna have to throw that out there. But yeah, when you thinking about like healing, it's really you thinking about a step-by-step process of letting go some of your baggage. And that letting go is a big part of healing, because like it allows you to no longer hold that pain that you're hurting from. Like letting go gives power back to you, and like many people believe that just because you would like put something like behind you, that means you let it go. But like we never sit there and like analyze how that something altered you. Like it altered you intentionally and unintentionally. Black guy was talking about that generational, that intentional and that unintentional. And like, or how that something like took power away from you. And like we living in a world where even before we were born, each and every single one of us, like these colonizers created, you know, I don't know, I know y'all just watched the documentary, but you know, there was a piece saying like, you know, they created a script with set roles for our people. And those set roles has altered a whole entire race. You know what I mean? And like, do you know how much baggage that comes with? That has been passed down through generations and generations. Like imagine like the world we would live in if our processes, you know, didn't end with some letting go. I'm just gonna sit there. I'm gonna repeat that. Imagine like we didn't add letting go to our processes. Like the world will be one way worse than what it is right now. And like we would not only like reciprocate those same exact traumas that a lot of us are doing now, we will reciprocate them same traumas, those same hurts onto our people, onto our family, onto our next generations, you know? And like I say, like, and I want to keep this short because, you know, we don't have that much times, and I definitely want to get into like questions and stuff and other people. But I kind of like say all that to say, like, when you put yourself in a healing process and there's no letting go, there's no healing.
Exactly.
And if there's no healing being done, that continuation of that generational cycle, aka the generational script that was written by somebody else to somebody else, is gonna continue. Is gonna continue. And I feel like, you know, like it's all in like that ending part. Like you could do all of the talking you want, you could talk to yourself, talk to other people, but if you harbor that pain and harbor that hurt, it's doing you no justice. It's doing you no type of justice. And you know, I just want to, you know, be calm and settled and powerful with it. And I'll pass it on.
Thank you so much, Mash. I definitely want to invite folks out there to think about what is your relationship to letting go, and what is it that you are holding on to, and what is it that's blocking, you know, your own journey, your own healing journey. So thank you. I definitely want to make sure we have a chance to turn to audience questions. So is your chance, if you have a question for someone on the panel, please make sure to add that to our Q&A. But I want to hear, I also want to have a chance for us to hear a little more about, Shawana, your work with like the healing work, the healing practices that you engage, silent cry, the organizing work that you're doing for the mass incarceration bill. So if you can tell us just some of those before we turn to audience questions.
Yes. I believe that healing is vital to moving on and vital to growing up. I'll be the first to admit that when we don't heal, when we don't forgive, um, I had to apologize to my son, and some of us don't want to admit that we're raising people from hurt spaces, and so we're birthing our children with collective trauma that they didn't ask for. And so I had to apologize to my son. I said, because see, I'm raising you from a hurt 10-year-old. I'm raising you from a destructive 17-year-old from the penitentiary. And so you don't even have a grown-up raising you. You're being raised by a traumatized individual who is in pain, and all I create is pain. You can't create healing and a whole human from trauma. It just doesn't happen. And I had to take ownership of what I was creating, because if our children are our greatest assets, then that means we have to be our best people. And I could admit I wasn't. And so I had to create a journey about how do I heal. And I believe in therapy. I believe in trauma-informed therapists. I believe in healing. I believe in groups. And I believe until you can get to a group, I totally believe in journaling. I journaled myself through prison. Um, it's so much to the point, it journaled me into legislation. I was able to write policy and legislation from my prison journal. What do you do with this amount of pain? You create healing. And this is why this panel is amazing, because I'm with people in community, in space, that say we will heal by all means. I mean, I look at Cory, and he reminds me of Malcolm X, the ballad of the bullet, but he means healing by any means necessary. And I think that that is amazing. Can't wait to get to know Richard and Mash. And I thank you for, I think animals are therapy for me. I love to ride horses. And so I love that Cory takes people to the woods and into nature, because we live in a planet that is healing. We have things in the ground and the earth that are healing. And so I believe that healing starts with writing, healing starts with talking, because there's no one size fit all box for therapists and for therapy. And as an organization, I definitely would say trauma informed care of all fashions is important. Thank you to wonderful therapists right now who are on here, like Dr. Carolyn Griffith Hunt, like Ariane Punter. Thank you to all the people who put in the work to make sure that formerly incarcerated people are people who just go through trauma. People, we don't even have to go through prison, because foster care is a whole nother trauma that we don't even have time for right now. But I can tell you that when you're discharged from your from the foster care system in prison, that also explains how you got there. And so, I had a foster care worker who says, I couldn't find you. I've been sitting in the Department of Corrections. I was right here. But if you managed to figure it out, I was here. And so I realized, like Mash just said, a system that was created for us and designed to fail from beginning to end. And I want to write policy and legislation that will create wholeness from now until 5 generations, so we can get out of the thing that they wrote for us. That's not our story. And I think that our journey of healing is now. It is here. It is holla. It is silent cry. It is every therapist. It is everybody who wants to join in creating a better society. We're here, and the movement is now.
A whole word, actually, a whole lot of words, and so much healing in your words and your story. We are so incredibly honored just to have you on this panel tonight. Thank you. I had to put that into the chat that, when journaling becomes legislation and then our liberation. Like
Yes.
that's a whole word. I mean, again, sometimes in these spaces, people like to intellectualize these tasks or treat journaling as it's some kind of, superficial exercise. But you are talking about it as a healing praxis that actually turns into policy that is completely committed to our necessary healing and liberation. And so I want to make sure folks out there heard that. And I know that we are coming up on time, but we have one more panelist. And so apologies, folks out there. I mean, there was just so much goodness on this panel, but something that Cory has taught, I know all of us on this panel about. I've been in spaces and have watched, like Cory, move an entire room, whether people are starting their journeys or in the middle of them, myself included. I want to say that right now, I wouldn't have gotten through. I met Cory through that shared PhD journey, which was its own forms of trauma, and I wouldn't have gotten through it without you. And I think about those writing groups, so I love you. And I want you to help close us out, because something that you talk about in your work in terms of a practice is what it means to grow a spirit towards liberation and healing. And so if you can just give us a little bit around that, that would be amazing.
No, that was it right there. You said it. All that stuff you just gave was it, I think. It means something every day, man. I think today I'm gonna say, I came to heal what you came to do.
Yes.
I came to build what you came to do. I came to feel what you came to do. But if I gotta kill just to make it through, bruh, I'm gonna make sure I make it you. But I said, we came to heal what you came to do. I said, we came to build what you came to do. I said, we came to feel what you came to do. But if we gotta kill just to make it through, bruh, we gonna make sure we make it you. But I said, we all came to heal what they came to do. I said, we all came to feel what they came to do. I said, we all came to chill what they came to do. Yes. But if we gotta kill just to make it through, we gonna make sure we make it you. I said, healing justice is our strategy. Responding to historical tragedy. Now we all in the building. They gonna be mad at we. Soon as the tip off, the cops pull up slow, we dip off. It's routine, it's street knowledge. I said it's routine, it's street knowledge. But we not here just organizing against a policy. Picture me giving an apology to those people who lied to me, standing on spirit, speaking the prophecy. I went from property to half freed and back to property. Shit is like Monopoly, and it used to be all about the cheddar. Now it's how our lives link all together. We sit in circles and make it better, collectively hurting together. It's old pain, it's new pain. We like no more pain. And ever since we learned about white supremacy, we ain't been the same. I'm talking about the slaves, ships, whips and the chains. I'm talking about the cuffs, courts, metal detectors, and up north trips. And how families get divorced quick. And how culture get lost in other wisdoms. And how our intimate relationships is filled with isms. And how that trauma be laying beneath the surface. Nah, I don't think y'all get our purpose. I said, healing justice is our strategy. Responding to historical tragedy. Now we all in the building. They gonna be mad at we. That's some of the spirit right there. Thank you.
Yes. Woohoo!
That's beautiful.
Whew. Please, please. Oh, you're getting a lot of love in the chat right now, Dr. Greene.
Thank you, everybody. It's more of that Y.O.C album, the report back, reporting back 3 years of healing justice, circle building, curriculum building, arguing, summit building, talent shows. Check out that album, the report back. It's in the chat somewhere. It's on our website.
Yes. Thank you. Can we just, everyone, I wish this is, if we were in my class, you know, this would be the moment where I say, everybody unmute and make some noise. But we're on that Zoom something webinar thing and we're trying to figure it out. And we can feel you through the chat. Please pour that love into the chat. Let's pour some gratitude into the universe, because this is a panel of incredible game changers who are really doing this healing work. We're going to be sharing. So those of you that registered, we're going to follow up so that we can have links to the album, again, to the documentary, so that you can watch it again, share it with others, the links for you to be able to order Richard's book, Inside Out. So we'll be following up and check out their, just continue, I think continue to follow and to support the work of this incredible panel. We are sending so much healing energy. I mean, Cory just did it. He just, you know, gave us, I mean, I think he just led us in healing like I told you he would. I knew he could. And thank you for joining us tonight, and hope to see all of you out there soon. Take care of yourselves, your bodies, your spirits. Remember that interconnectedness. Remember the importance of letting go. Remember the importance of journaling. Remember the importance of music, of art in this movement, and to remember to constantly interrupt these ongoing systems of white supremacy when they show up. It's going to take, it's all of us or none of us. So we love you. Thank you for joining us tonight, and see you soon.
Yes.
Yay, we did it. Thank you all. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll follow up in our emails, but I think sending links to anything so we can share it with everyone who came through tonight, so they can continue to follow. Like Richard, your book, we need that. We need the information for how to share that with everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
But make sure you check out the chat before you sign off, because you got a lot of love from everybody. So please make sure. Thank you for the healing that you shared tonight.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Can't wait to meet you, Match and Richard.
Mash, you met Mash. You just met a different version of Mash. You see, that's what
in DC. That's it.
That's what I'm saying. It's just a different version of me. You never know what
you're gonna get. All right. It's all working out.
Yo, I love Ash, man.
Yes.
Much, man.
Love, man. Love.
Oh, wow.
Come on, man. We gotta hook up. When you get back.
Text me your number, because I gotta read your book.
Yeah. Okay, got you.
Send it to me. Good night, you guys.
I need a copy of that bio. You did that, all right?
Oh, I told
Oh, yeah. Can you please send me a copy of mine? Because you was, yes. You little wordsmith there. Yeah. Oh, yes.